He looked me dead in the eye, shook my hand, and smiled like we were old friends, while standing on the mountain of my work, pretending it was his. But karma? Karma was patient. And when it came for him, it hit hard. If you've ever had someone steal credit for your blood, sweat, and tears, if you've ever wanted to see someone finally get what they deserve, then hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in. Because this isn't just a revenge story. It's about truth catching up with a lie. It was almost a decade ago when I walked into a building that felt more like a ghost town than a company. Where once 50 employees hustled in a maze of machines, now only 3 remained, clinging to the final threads of what used to be. I was brought in to do one thing: revive it. It was a challenge most people would turn down flat. The budget was bleeding, the systems were ancient, and morale flatlined. But I saw potential where others saw failure. The company specialized in ultra-custom, small-batch, precision-engineered parts. Niche, yes, but valuable when done right. I didn't just want to revive the company. I wanted to rebuild it from the ground up. New tech, streamlined processes, new blood. And that's how Jack came into the picture. Jack wasn't remarkable. He had a few useful skills, and he wasn't the worst at what he did. But he wasn't great either. In fact, when our revenue crossed $10 million and we began aiming for $100,000 profit per employee, Jack became a problem. His work was sloppy, his speed below average. We needed to move fast. We needed people who could carry their weight, and Jack wasn't cutting it. Still, I didn't want to leave him hanging. I pulled him into my office and told him straight. He had 2 months to find another job. I promised a fair reference for the things he was good at, but I wouldn't sugarcoat the rest. He had to keep pulling his weight during the transition, but I'd be flexible if he needed time for interviews. To Jack's credit, or maybe just to his lack of ambition, he kept working. No drama, no drop in effort. He quietly left 2 months later after landing a new job at one of our partner companies. I didn't think I'd hear much about him after that. But a year later, I had to fly out and meet that very partner company. And that's when it happened. I walk into the boardroom, and there he is. Jack, standing shoulder to shoulder with my main contact. We'll call him Stefan. I was surprised, sure, but I smiled, extended a hand. Professionalism first, right? Jack smiles back. That same smile people wear when they think they've gotten away with something. And then Stefan says something that made my stomach twist. He laughs and claps Jack on the back, saying, "Man, you were lucky to have this guy. Jack basically turned your company around, cleaned up your processes, really pulled you guys out of the mud." I blinked. What? I laughed, politely, trying to mask the confusion boiling under my skin. Stefan added casually, "Well, maybe he had a little help from someone up the hill." Up the hill, as if I had been some distant consultant. Like a whisper, a rumor. Not the guy who spent 2 years rebuilding that company from the bones out. I felt my fists clench involuntarily. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. What do you even say to that? I settled on a forced smile. Well, I'm glad Jack found a good fit. Inside, I was burning. This man who I gave a fair exit, who I helped avoid getting fired on the spot. He hadn't just quietly moved on, he took credit. For everything. I said nothing. But I didn't forget. Years passed. I left the company to pursue new ventures, but I stayed in touch with the GM I had personally hired to succeed me. The company faced headwinds like everyone during COVID, but it held strong thanks to the systems I left behind. Occasionally, I heard about Jack in passing. He was still hanging on at that partner company, longer than I expected. But then one day, I get the call. It was my old GM. He sounded excited. "Hey, so this guy Jack, you remember him?" I laughed. "Yeah, I remember Jack." He continued. "Well, he applied here. For the head of production role. Pretty impressive stuff on his resume. Says he was instrumental in the company's turnaround back in the day." "Instrumental?" He continued. "We didn't overlap, so I thought I'd ask you before moving forward." And there it was. My moment. I took a deep breath. The weight of all those years sat in my throat. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't dramatize. I just told the truth. I laid it out clean. Jack was competent at very specific tasks. But the process improvements, the tech upgrades, the strategic shifts, that wasn't Jack. That was me. Jack wasn't involved in those calls. In fact, we had to let him go because his performance couldn't keep up with the company's direction. There was silence on the other end. Then a soft chuckle. Good to know. I had a feeling it sounded a bit too good to be true. Jack didn't get the job. No fanfare. No confrontation. Just the slow, satisfying sound of truth catching up that I never needed to get loud. I never needed to take Jack down publicly. All I had to do was wait. Wait for the day when his lies came back around. And when they did, it wasn't me who denied him a second chance. It was the truth. The very thing he twisted finally snapped back. And it hit him right in the career. Karma doesn't always show up fast. It doesn't knock on doors. But when someone builds their future on someone else's work, eventually, it all collapses. So yeah, I didn't destroy Jack. He did that all by himself. If this story gave you chills or reminded you of someone who twisted the truth for their own gain, drop a comment and tell me about it. Hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories where karma doesn't just knock, it kicks down the door.